So we're here. We are here in San Francisco live. I can't believe we're in person.
Check 1, 2. We are
This
live.
is incredible. I've got two amazing guests with me. They are probably familiar to you all. We spent the last night hanging out at a bar in person, chatting about MLOps for the first ever meetup. Well, it wasn't really a meetup. It was more of a happy hour because we didn't have any talks. We skipped the talks and went right to the good conversation.
To the beer.
Yeah.
Lots of beer.
Magnolia Brewing Company.
Yes. Delicious. So now we're going to talk with Joe and Mike. I'm excited to be talking with both of you. I mean, this is very, very spur of the moment thing that we figured out we're going to do last night, I think. And it all came together. Lucky us. We wanted to get into first, I think, this idea of the modern ML stack, because there's so many people that are talking about the modern data stack. But I'd love to hear from both of you guys about the modern ML stack. Does that exist yet? Mike, maybe you can kick it off. What are your thoughts?
Right on. I think it doesn't exist. I think we're trying to build it. We're trying to figure it out. But as you can see by the confusion and the complexity and the number of vendors that you see in MLOps community, and how there's a million different things that say data platform for ML, and like how is that different from a data platform in the first place? You know, and there's a variety of different stores that different things called, you know, asterisk store. It's just not easy, and I think like it is something that will emerge. It'll be something that like is guided from a lot of, you know, vendors working together and intentionally making their systems have clearer boundaries and be simpler to describe, stuff like that. Yeah. But it's just like something that's going to emerge, and we're going to know it's here if you interview the folks on MLOps community, and I don't know, greater than X% are basically drawing the same pictures. So that's how I think about it. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, the modern data stack really, I mean, what is it? It's composable managed services that you can tie together real easily. I don't see that happening yet in the ML space, but hopefully soon, right? So it's a weird one too. I mean, the modern data stack, I made a quip the other day. It's so old, it's probably not even modern anymore. So,
yeah.
But it's just a data stack right now, right? Yeah. So, but you know, that's had a bit of time to mature, you know, and that's a stack I keep seeing over and over in the data space is like, you know, Snowflake BigQuery for data warehouse, you know, DBT,
Fivetran, DBT,
yeah, over and over,
Census
all day.
out.
But then again, in that whole space, right, there's like a million integration connector companies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so. Yeah, but it all works, right?
But so I think like one interesting question is like, what is it about the data domain or general analytics that makes it so that that makes it easy to have, you know, a modern crisp stack, and what is preventing the ML world from having that? I've got my answer, but I'm curious, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a doozy.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah. I just think it's not as mature. I think that's about it. I just don't think there's been any consolidation of practices. And I think it's practices really that's kind of the name of the game, and processes. Data, you know, you've had the fortune of having kind of, you know, BI 1.0, right? The old school Informatica, which pretty much described like the whole process you need to do, right? ELT sort of flipped that on its head, but really it's a much more describable system than I'd say ML, which is just, it's sort of open-ended still. I mean, it's not as complete yet. So what are your thoughts?
I think very similar, but I would phrase it differently. Just that we see this at Tecton, like people have very, very different requirements across different ML use cases, and also sometimes they have the same requirements, but they think they have different requirements, and so there's people building for, you know, the faster horses that people are asking for, not the cars. And so it's very when you have that kind of like almost like disagreement, or like not lack of consolidation in the use cases, then it's really hard to have like the three solutions that solve everything, right? But I think over time, people are gonna realize, oh, my requirements or my use case is basically the same as that other use case. I was using a different term, but then you can have fewer solutions solving more use cases.
So I want to know what use cases you feel like are very common and could be kind of bunched together.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I spend a ton of time thinking about feature store stuff and how we enable operational machine learning, right? And so when we talk to different companies, an e-commerce company or a security company or a gaming company, some people will have like they'll be thinking about it in terms of like, my custom Java application has to run like the custom online logic for feature transformation. Other people think, oh, this is a thing that belongs these transformations belong in the model code. And so they'll be saying, oh, my requirements are that I can put this in the model code. Other people will say, other people are just like, hey, I need a feature store. And, they already know about this. And so you talk to different people and they're just asking for different things. But you could really have one solution that's solving the ultimate requirements for these things. So anyway, that's just like a very tangible example we deal with all the time.
How much of it do you think this is an education issue then?
It partially is. Like, one interesting thing is that a lot of these kind of like sometimes it's easier for us to work with like people who are newer to ML because they're not working at a company. Like, I'm thinking of this one company that has built 3 different variations of a feature store in the past, and they've called 2 of them feature store, and then they're all built in different ways. And so everyone at the company, they're kind of like, yeah, we've always thought about it in this way. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of like inertia of like previous artifacts, of historical artifacts,
right,
and how they think about it. But then we have like new companies who are just like, hey, we're building insurance, ML based insurance pricing. We need an ML stack. You guys have a super clear story. Let's just use that. And there's not like that very complicated back and forth.
So, I mean, in software, there's a notion of convention over configuration and vice versa. I mean, I think that's something that needs to be settled in the ML space as well, right? So there's a lack of convention right now. And so I don't think that it's a lack of technology at this point. There's a lot of options out there, but I think it's just more what's the practice?
I think there's different layers of that too, because people like the idea of like what we offer was part of the Tecton feature store and Feast as well, and other feature stores, is providing some layer of standardization, and it provides a value proposition of here's a convention that you can deploy to your whole team. And so that's one layer that there's convention, but there's other layers as well, right, like what I think you're originally referring to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we'll see how it shapes up. I don't know the modern ML stack. It's TBD, but it's going to happen. I think we're all in agreement on that. But I think part of it's just a new space still. Ops, it is. It's not new, but it's new as a concept, right? And I think we were talking about this earlier before we recorded, where it's like, what's the difference between the tools versus the process and workflow, right? And so that's pretty good. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to D earlier about this, but one of the confusing things, another confusing thing in this space, MLOps, people use that term to mean a ton of different things. And what I have seen, this is just like a distinction that I started to try to really clarify when people tell me, hey, I need MLOps, or I'm the head of MLOps at this company or something like that, is sometimes they mean I'm in charge of the workflows that my team will have as they develop and productionize machine learning. And sometimes MLOps to them just means the infrastructure that runs your ML systems. And those are pretty different things. And some tools, are infrastructure that, try to make a workflow, try to provide a good workflow. But then there's other tools, there's other, vendor tech that you can buy that is combining different pieces of infrastructure and just solely trying to provide a faster workflow, making your team more productive. And so this is kind of like this infrastructure or workflow thing is confused in the MLOps term. So I don't know. That's a pretty interesting distinction.
Well, I think it's fascinating. It goes back to the education piece. And something that somebody told me about yesterday is the whole idea of Databricks having a Databricks Academy, and like how that helps so much with what they're doing. And it's very clear. It's like we need an MLOps Academy. Maybe that's my next project for 2022.
It should be.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We can do it together.
No, that's a horrible idea because it's such a big undertaking, man. Like
Well,
that will
you
drive me
know you have a
nuts.
textbook that can help out, right?
There
our
we
man
go.
right here is writing a textbook.
Let's talk about your book for real fast. Like, what inspired you to make it, and why did you feel like you should make it?
Oh yeah, the fundamentals of data engineering. I think it's more because it's just what is data engineering, right? Sort of like what is MLOps right now, and so I really wanted to just figure out for myself what that is, and consolidate that knowledge. So it's tough. It's an undertaking for sure.
So this is an O'Reilly book, right?
Yeah, it's out in O'Reilly
So
next
how
year.
does one get? How do you go from being data engineering guy to writing an O'Reilly book?
It's tough, man. Like the book proposal process is brutal in itself. That's
Okay.
tough. But yeah,
How much
But-
work is it to write the book?
a lot of work. It's a full-time job.
Wow.
So I run a company and I write a book and I raise kids and
Yeah.
everything else. So it's insane. But it's interesting. So I thought I knew data engineering, and I started writing this, and it's like I don't know shit, frankly, about this. But it's good. It's been very clarifying, and I think we're finally coming up with, because you got to focus on what's not going to change, right? Because some friends were like, well, but how do you write a book on a field that's changing so fast? And it's like, well, you don't focus on that. Don't focus on the tools. Focus on the process. Focus on the life cycle.
Focus on
That's
the
a big one.
fundamentals.
Yeah, bingo. So that's been fun. So and I think it'll be interesting to see, because there's some overlap with machine learning as well that I write about in the book, and yeah, it's a lot of fun writing it. Still nowhere near done, but
Is it clear what percent you are done, or are you just like, this could be a forever project? I have no idea.
I mean, it has to be done by March.
Okay, so you have a timeline.
Yeah, I have a deadline, but yeah, it'll be done.
So one thing that I found when I write, and often D asked me to like contribute a little snippet to the Mega Ops newsletter, check that out, is
Nice.
it's really clarifying to write, because you think you know something, and then when you try to put it into text,
Yep.
really cleanly and simply describe it to someone, you're like, wait a second, I actually kind of glossed over that in my own mind.
Right.
And so do you feel like you're having a lot of these like
All the time.
learnings that are coming
all
from
the time.
that?
Yeah. And we're lucky enough to have really, really good reviewers too. So Martin Kleppman, the guy who wrote Designing Data Intensive
nice.
Application, is one of our tech reviewers, and that's awesome. That's like having LeBron James like coach your
Yeah.
little league basketball camp.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome, and a whole panel of great reviewers as well. So that's been really cool and helpful, because otherwise you have blind spots in your knowledge, right? That's just how it is. And so having people pick apart things, it's good. You leave your ego at the door if you're going to write a book, though. Like,
Yeah, I bet.
you can get beat up a lot.
I'm sure, man.
So,
Yeah, remove this whole chapter.
no, we've had that happen. It's like, this doesn't need to be here. Move it. We're like, okay, we'll move it. So, but yeah,
Well,
writing's interesting. I mean, how often do you write?
I write. I mean, I have to write internally specs and stuff like that for our company, but also like I actually get a lot out of like participating in MLOps community, where I'm trying to sometimes trying to share thoughts, sometimes trying to ask folks questions, and just even like it's kind of interesting that even just the Slack community, you have such a different variety of like a wide variety of people who are some people are really broad and like not super deep on a single topic. I would consider myself like that, but then there's some people who are just like PhDs in very specific things, and even figuring out like how to communicate effectively to such a wide group is fascinating. And I mean, you must deal with this all the time too, right?
Yeah, man. And it goes back to the fact that there's so many different kinds of use cases in machine learning, and we could be talking about computer vision, and then you go to the next question and it's like, oh, how am I doing this with XYZ? And it is mind-blowing to see there are people that can traverse all these different things. That's not me, obviously. And I think that what is beautiful about it is there is that amount of space that it covers, but also, again, it goes back to this, like, what is MLOps? Is it all of that, or is it for anything? We kind of need to figure that out, I guess.
What's been really rewarding in interacting with the community, other than obviously just like on Slack, is meeting up with folks in person, and
Dude, that
the
was
meetup
awesome.
that happened. It was
Yeah.
super cool. I met a ton of really cool people. I mean, I think you guys should do that in I don't want to put a bunch of work
every
on
city in the world. And then we're going to have the MLOps Academy, and just wait, 2022 is going to be a big year.
It's going to be huge. But anyway, I got a ton out of it, and I would recommend, anybody who hears this to go, if you guys do more, just like go to those, because those are really awesome.
One thing that we've been thinking about is like, how can we do local chapter champions?
Yeah.
And so like getting people in the community involved, and we want to keep it really lightweight, so that you don't have to organize a talk, you don't have to like source speakers or like look at the slides. It's just like, just get together, have a happy hour, and talk about MLOps. That's the key right there.
I think people are tired of the presentations too. Yeah. I mean, I've been bombarded with like Zoom and whatever. Networking's great. Just hang out, drink beer. Don't drink beer, just hang out, right? Yeah. So last night was awesome. I think that was it's like a magical moment. Yeah. People hadn't seen each other for a long time. Yeah. So, I mean, were there meetups going on recently, or was this like one of the first in-person?
Literally my first meetup in a long time.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
And what I definitely really enjoyed was that there was networking happening, but it wasn't like, here's my card,
right.
Like call me. It was just like, what are you working on? Oh, yeah, cool. Like, that's an interesting problem. That's a really cool use case. And then you start talking about, I remember I talked with one guy who's working at one of those, he works at a company that does Amazon Go style checkout. Yeah. Did you talk with him, Jim?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the edge cases?
No, let's hear it.
People will go and just basically put their shirt over something and then try and
steal it.
Yeah. So for those who are listening and are wondering what we're talking about, like they have this company, they created a product that can sell to retail stores, and it makes the whole checkout process basically like Amazon Go, where you just go, you walk in, you pick out your item, and then you walk out, and then you automatically get charged. But one of the edge cases that he was talking about was like, and he told me like, people are nuts. They try and steal all the time, and we got all these cameras, and since they're up, the camera's above them, they'll just put something over, and then they'll try and just like grab a bunch of stuff without being charged.
But honestly, wouldn't you like just experiment and see how good it works? Like, what if I do this?
What is shoplifting in that case? What would shoplifting be called then?
Yeah,
I guess it's stealing still.
Yeah. It probably is stealing. I mean, but it is for the betterment of the algorithm. I guess.
So, I'm just giving you guys adversarial examples, helping train your models.
That's interesting. But what were your takeaways from that conversation, though?
So, the cool thing is that I'm talking to more people who are doing computer vision. It feels like I talk to a person every day who's doing some kind of use case with computer vision. And that's really cool to see, because I love hearing the use cases with computer vision. And yeah, the takeaway, I don't know if there was a large takeaway. It was just like blowing my mind more that everybody, hopefully every retail shop is going to be able to have that Amazon Go style. Like, I don't need to worry about if the person ahead of me in line is fumbling with their credit card or talking on their phone and the assistant is not able to interact with them or whatever. And then B, the fact that like I get to see these people, I get to meet these people with all these use cases, and yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of the same as A. So there's only an A.
well, for me, like my takeaway was just that like there's all this pent up learning that I haven't been doing because I haven't been hanging out with people in person at meetups and stuff for the last little while. And so, maybe if I've been going to meetups a lot, I would have seen you a lot and it would have been like, okay, what's up? But we just had so much stuff to talk about, and it was really cool. It was like a lot of built up energy, and it was very cathartic to be at the meetup. So it was really rewarding.
Well, a lot of people hadn't met in real life.
Yeah.
We talked like last year, I think, when you kind of came out of stealth mode for a quick, just talking about my porch in Salt Lake, just on a video chat with you. And it's like, hey, what's up with Tecton, right? And then we met, and online, right? Yeah. And everyone, I didn't know anybody there really, so that was really cool. I'll remember that for a while. Yeah. That's cool. But thanks for this community that you built. It's awesome.
Dude, so I always say that it's not me, because I couldn't have done it without you all you all who are listening and being part of it. I just kind of set up everything in the right place and then watch the dominoes fall. And that's how it is. So I always, when people are like, thanks for doing it, I'm like,
No, you do a great job, man. You should write the O'Reilly book on,
communities,
Yeah.
tech communities.
Yeah.
That's my next goal after the MLOps Academy that we're going to do. And what was the other thing we were going to do?
The meetups everywhere, every week.
Every week. In person, yep.
Every town in the world, every week.
But actually, I was thinking about like doing a poll in the community and being like, where should we do the next happy hour? Should we do Berlin or New York or London? Those are the only places I want to go to next. So that's where we're going to do the poll.
Planning your vacation.
Yeah, plan it around my happy hour. So that's it. I mean, was there anything else we had to talk about? I can't remember what else we wanted to say.
I'm sure we can keep going, but I know Mike has to get back to work. So.
I gotta run soon. I don't know. I think just the last thing I'll say is that like, it wasn't just going to the meetup. It was not just about like meeting cool people, but there's also like, you can probably very easily find a job if you go to one of these meetups.
Dude.
Like, there's so many people who are just like, I'm really trying to hire. We're trying to hire people at Tecton to build dope feature stores, and we're looking for all kinds of people. But there's a lot of people who are looking for all kinds of roles, and so there's a lot more value than just seeing D's pretty face when you go to the meetup.
That's it, man. That's so true, and that is kind of what I wanted to touch on earlier, is how like the knowledge sharing that happens, but plus how you find out about these holes in the, I can go and work for this, or we're hiring like really crazy, you should talk to this guy, or I know this, did you meet John? Yeah. I mean, and what was really fun is that everybody was really open to meeting everyone else, because we're all in the same space, we all know what's going on, and we want to hear what you're working on, what are you doing, where are you from. That was really cool. I got to see like mingling and cross-pollination, and that was probably like my favorite.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for setting it up.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Cool. And start a recruiting company too. So that'll be a third.
Oh,
company.
yeah.
That's 2022. That's my year.
Doing everything.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Take care.
Yeah.